Good morning, and welcome to the second installation of Diamond G Speaks. We're going to be covering a couple of topics today. We won't be getting into things that's going to stretch the span of 38 minutes, which was my introductory speech, basically to the world. What I'd like to do is send a big shout out to my cousin John L. Leitner, young brother. He's on the grind, and he's doing everything he can to take care of his son. And I see you, cousin. So this one's going to be dedicated to you and the other fathers of the so-called blacks and the different things that we have to undergo. Thanks to a culture of ignorance and a standard which has caused us to basically be treated like dirt and disregarded oftentimes in this society. I'd also like to wish a very happy birthday to my big brother John Ballard, who I build with daily. And that being said, let's get right into it. Now, what you guys are going to notice is that I don't have any script. I don't pre-write any of this stuff. Literally, what happens is that throughout the days, the day I come across different situations that will inspire me to speak on various aspects. There will come a point where I will have a more regimented format. I'd like to again send another shout out to my cousin Darnell James Mulberry. He's going to be he's the founder of Black Father Productions. So we're going to be taking it a whole other direction, whole other level. He's in the film and does things like that. So once we basically get everything together, we're going to go with a whole different format, a more formal format. But for now, I figured that in this form, this is the best way to go about it. Now let's address the topic of the myth and the misconception that black men are not good fathers. Our so-called black men are not good fathers. So-called black men, we have no concept of monogamy. We can't be adequate providers. We're lazy, shiftless, and flat out we just we're basically a so-called dying breed in this country here. I personally find that extremely offensive, and I find it shameful. And furthermore, the fact that these stereotypes are not so much pushed or peddled by the so-called white or Caucasian, the bigot and that thing of that nature, but they are actually perpetrated upon us by members of the so-called black community. And again, we will discuss them. I call them the American Negro. It's a real shame, at different times there are those of us who have been called sellouts. They're like, oh, you're sold out, you're not black. Again, pure ignorance. I've come across so-called blacks, aka also known as the American Negro, that will say to me, oh man, I see you out with your kids, you babysitting. Like, no, I'm a father. Fathers don't babysit. These are my children. I take care of my children. I've had so-called blacks come up to me and ask me ignorant questions such as, are all your kids, are those all by the same woman? You got all four of your kids by one woman? What? Let's look at them like, man, really? Is it that? Have we devolved, as a community so much to the point where we are now not only accepting these stereotypes, but you are attempting to, basically peddle them to the point where you think that it's appropriate for you to try to criticize or down another member of the community who's taking care of their family. Those of us who happen to have embraced education, we are often seen as trying to be quote unquote white you know, because we are educating ourselves, we educate our children. If we take care of our families, you know, we put our children first, you know, our wife and our children come first as opposed to hanging out. And this even happens in some families. You know, you'll see that, unfortunately, due to the fact that, you know, they have bought in, a lot of our people have bought in to this ignorance, you know, and they will, you know, rain ridicule upon a young man, you know, who says, hey, listen, guys, I can't hang out with you. I got to be over here with my wife and my kids. And then to, oh, you're a punk, you know, you're sold out. Like, what? You know, you're whipped. You know, what you mean you got to run home to your wife and your kids? Like, come on, man, what? You know? And these are the same folks that, you know, when such a person, you know, has an opportunity to improve not only their lifestyle but the lifestyle of those around them, you know, maybe you know, some brothers, sisters. But when they decide to, you know what, hey, you know, I've been on this grind, now I'm taking care of my family, now it's time for me to up and get out of this situation and move myself to a better situation, they are then, you know, chastised. You know, it's like, oh, you know, he thinks he's better than us. You know, he's excited. Oh, he's too good to be around us now. Oh, you know what I'm saying? Look what that nigga got. You know what I'm saying? Oh, that nigga got this and that nigga got that. You know, and you know, it's really sad. You know, so you know, again, you know, like I harped back on before, I'm just touch on it lightly. Term nigga is not a term of endearment, man. It's, you know, think about those who have used it in that context. It's a blatant insult, you know, to any and everything that, you know, we are trying to build. Now, sticking with that topic, you know, about black fathers. Now, I had an incident occur yesterday. You know, I was out at my wife's salon with my children, you know, and they're sitting, you know, they said, Daddy, can we go play in the bouncy house? I said, absolutely, you know, go right ahead. So they got these little bouncy houses, you know, they fill them with air and the kids go in there and they jump around and they do twirls and whatnot. They just have a lot of fun. All little kids love that stuff. So, you know, I'm sitting there and I'm watching them, pardon me, from afar, you know, and then, yeah, about maybe, I'll say about 15 minutes, excuse me, my children come running back. And my younger ones, you know, they didn't quite know how to explain what had just occurred. But my eldest daughter, she comes through, Gianna, she comes through and she looks at me. And she says, you know, Daddy, you know, the guy, he said, told his children when we were in the bounty house that he couldn't play in there because the bounty house was full of trash. So I told her, I said, well, you know, perhaps he saw some garbage or something in there. She was like, no, Daddy, because when we moved over to the other bouncy house, he told his kids that it was now okay for them to go and play, you know. And that you know, really, really, really upset me, you know. I really got angry with that, you know. So now I had a couple of options at my disposal. I could have gone over there, acted a fool, and you know, punched this guy in his face. You know, there's two of them over there, so I could have jumped on them and beat them both up. You know, and then you know, basically I could have conformed to typical stereotypical behavior. You know, which is, you know, landed us into this problem that we are now facing as a community. You know, or I could take another approach. You know, so I chose a secondary approach. I told my children, I said, let's go back over there. So I went over there. And I literally walked right to where this guy and his buddy were sitting at, you know, and they're over there laughing and having a good time. And they had their backs turned to me. So I literally just walked up on them. I was within like a foot of them. And I said, hey, gentlemen, how you doing? You know, how you guys doing today? You know, authoritative tone, you know, no BS, you know, no tomfoolery, no shucking and jiving, no, hey, guy, none of that. You know, straight up, just got straight brolic with them, without having to put my hands on them or even have to, you know, cross them, you know, with a, you know, with any tone, you know, additional rhetoric. So these guys, they turned around and, you know, obviously they were about like mid-chest on me. So they turned around, you know, and they took a really good look at me and they said, oh, hey, sir, how are you? I said, I'm good. My kids are behind me. And I said, all right, now, I said, guys, go on in there and play. Enjoy. Jump until you get tired. So I went and I sat down. Now, this could be a byproduct of, my years of experience in law enforcement. But I also had a chance to take a look at these clowns. And, they were all tatted up. One guy, he had 88 written down the side of his neck. Those of you who are not familiar with that term, that's Hail Hitler. What I'm saying? Usually you'll see they got the SS lightning bolts, or you'll see the two numbers 88 inscribed on someone, because H is the 8th letter of the alphabet. So 88, Hail Hitler. The other guy had some other like Aryan markings on his arms and things of that nature. So, again, what I think happened here, they saw, 4 what they called so-called black children. They assumed that there was no father, and they assumed that they could, take a swipe at them, because they felt that there was going to be no retribution. There was no protector, to be seen. Now, this is not a isolated incident. I had another incident where a woman did the same exact thing. My kids were out there playing in the bounty house, and they were out there with a couple of their friends from school who are Caucasian and Asian, and the lady made a comment to my kids talking about, oh yeah, you better not bully my daughter. My kids hadn't even talked to the little girl. And this foolish woman didn't realize that, I was literally sitting about 20 feet from where she was at. So I heard that. So, I got up and I stepped to her. I rolled. I said, hey, you got problems? Everything all right? And again, she's confused. She's like, yeah, oh, those are your kids. Like, every single one of them. All 4 of those children are mine. The other little kids, I know them. Their families are owners in this here plaza. We all own something here. And we just had to handle that. And this is not something that is uncommon. I know that my cousin Terry Barnes, he's dealt with it. Him and his wife Sarah, he's had to deal with the same type of foolishness. And he keeps his head up. And these are the things that will make him successful in life, and these are things that we were taught how to deal with, by our parents, and our grandparents, and particularly for me, I had the benefit of knowing my grandfather, Jimmy Trice, and he was a great man, and he used to talk to me about these things that I would be coming across. I spent a great deal of time with him. Particularly a couple of summers right when I was out of high school, and it was just a great thing. But that's kind of lost, it's kind of lost now, in this society here, and it's rather shameful, that the fact that there are so many good men of color. We don't ask for a medal. We don't ask for recognition. The only thing we ask for is respect. I do what I'm supposed to do. I really get disgusted, when I'm out, and, some random fool, ignorant fool will come over. Oh, wow, look at you. Aren't you great? You're out there with your kids. You actually have a family. Like, what? What? Like, where the hell did that come from? And that's not just something that you hear coming from within the black community, so-called black community. It could be the same thing with the so-called white community as well. And you can't even put yourself in a situation where you could respond to them, just because you're just sitting there like, man, damn, is it really that bad? Are we in that poor of a state? As a whole, as a people, where those of us who do what we're supposed to do, now it's like, hey, good job, you're doing what you're supposed to do. Shameful. But there's a whole lot of us out here. And what has happened is that a lot of us have been swept under the rug. You know, people they throw these statistics around and they're like, oh, you know, black women are, you know, they have all these children, you know, and the children are by different men, and you know these men are, you know, they just basically hit it and quit it. You know, basically they just want to sleep with one woman, take off, drop a kid, you know, have no responsibility for them, and keep it moving. You know, now let's be clear. There is an element, you know, within our society that does that, and you know they're called the American Negro. But how it is that they're, you know, and they're not the majority here. They're part of, they're a minority within our community. How is it that a minority of our community is picked to be a representative for everybody? You know, how can that be? You know, it's shameful. You know, it's time to stand up. You know, it's time to stand up. Really, it's time for us to stand up. You know, and let the world know who we are and what we represent. You know, because what has happened, you know, you can see how that very type of stereotype and that mentality has kind of, you know, it's been replicated, you know, and on a grander scale. You know, we are the only community, you know, that does not get a chance to choose our leaders. Think